Good morning, Real Writers. Chris here for our Sunday Journal with Me session. I continue to pull several cards instead of just one because that's what I'm drawn to do, and also because it allows me to play with more of my decks and spend more time with them, which I would like to do because, as you know, I buy so many that I don't spend enough time with each of them individually, and this allows me to. So if you are new, welcome. We do this every Sunday afternoon. Sometimes I load them a little late, not because I want to, just because the video takes forever. And we go over some cards, and then you choose a card of the ones I have available, or if there's just one, you write on that, and we spend 10 minutes or so writing together, journaling together on whatever the card brings up for us. And if you want to write on something that an idea that is sparked by the card but has nothing to do with the card really, you don't have to write on the card. It's whatever works for you. I'm just opening some doors here for you to spark some ideas, and wherever it takes you is perfect. It's what works for you. The whole thing is about writing, journaling, and having that practice of pausing and taking stock and touching base with yourself and digging into feelings and issues and relationships that are coming up for you or that you're experiencing it, so you can get some clarity. Or even if no clarity comes, sometimes that comes in time rather than in the moment, at least you connected with it, so you are considering what's happening. It's not something that's going to hopefully slam into you. You will have taken some time to consider your options, so if a moment comes that you need to make a decision, you feel more prepared than you would be if you hadn't taken any time. But also, it's just nice to spend some time on a Sunday and just touch base with yourself. Where are you? What are you feeling? What do you want? How are you doing with your goals, your dreams, the things you're trying to work on in your life? We did a summer solstice edition a few weeks ago. You might want to go do that if you haven't done it yet. You could probably get away with doing the summer solstice edition through the end of July, but after that we're sort of in August and we're heading toward the equinox, so in September. So you can still take stock. It doesn't mean like that. You just have you have fewer months to work in. But the good news is you can make whatever schedule you like. If you want to have your summer equinox in August, go for it. But it's just nice to do, and it's a nice way to mark Sundays, which for me always feel like a time of pausing and seeing what's going on and where I am in rest. And I am not personally a churchgoer anymore. I was as a child because my parents took us, but I moved away from organized religion. And what I haven't moved away from is that Sundays still feel like a time for reflection and rest and to hear something inspiring. And so this is a time to do that, and hopefully you'll hear something inspiring from these cards. And it could be challenging too, that's also fine, but it will come to you on your own terms here today with us, where we're all here with you, whether you're watching this, well, I'm not live, but it doesn't matter when you're watching this. Whoever is watching this whenever, we're all in a collective together, and we're all here with you, supporting you and each other. So let's, if you don't have your notebook ready, go pause the video and go get it, because we go right into the journaling, which you can also just pause then and get your notebook. Maybe light a candle, take some deep breaths to sort of center yourself and get any zooming thoughts relatively under control. Make sure you won't be disturbed. Maybe get some tea or coffee or water, whatever, and or treats, your breakfast, whatever. Maybe you're doing this at breakfast. That's fine too, on another day. And let's dive in. So the first card is from my Work Your Light Oracle Cards deck. I mean, it's not mine. It's by Rebecca Campbell. All the notes about my decks are always in the description box. I always tell you what decks I'm using because most people don't, or they do it in the video and they don't do it in the description box, and then I have to try to find where it is in the video. So the artwork is by Danielle Noel, and let's turn the card and see what we have. Oh, Unbound. Releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives. Okay, let's just hang on for a second and say, if you don't believe in soul patterns, contracts, and past lives, no problem. Consider what these are in this lifetime. Where you are now, who you are now, this life. And don't think about past anything in terms of past lives, but maybe your own past. So here's the card. And it's just really it's really intriguing and compelling. It's these three women, and they're floating. They're not in water, and they're floating up into the air, into the sky, into the moon. That's really, really compelling. So let's read what the book says about Unbound. And this deck does not have numbers, and the suits are not marked on the cards, so it's kind of a search to find the card you need. Okay. Ooh, 108. It's on page 108, which is what you're supposed to, your mantras, how many times you're supposed to chant mantras. And also, I believe, how many beads are in a, those malas that people use, prayer beads. Okay. It is time to release old soul stories that have been playing out in your life. And again, you can eliminate the word soul and just say old stories. We all have narratives we're telling ourselves about our lives and stories about ourselves and our lives. They are coming up, these stories, they are coming up to be healed. There has never been a safer time to clear these patterns than right now. Take a look at patterns in your life that you are ready to release. Ancient vows and contracts that your soul made that have an expiration date. And again, these can be vows and contracts in this life. It could be a vow of silence or chastity or poverty. It is time to unwind from them. This is the life in which you free yourself from trauma of the past. What old ways, or lives past, if you believe in that, what old ways of being have an expiration date? When you name them, you claim them, and they stop holding power over you. When acknowledging these old patterns, it is also important to acknowledge how they have served you up until now. For example, a soul pattern of playing small caused by a soul fear of being seen or sharing your voice would have served you by keeping you safe. In order to grow, you now need to soften by receiving and calling in support. It is time to unbind from the old ways of being that are no longer sustainable. So, there are many things in this card you could focus on. You could look at the story you've been telling yourself about your life, yourself, a current situation, a relationship. That's one thing you could journal on. You could look at patterns in your life that you're ready to receive. Patterns and habits that are no longer serving you, but they're easier. It's never easy to change a pattern or habit because the brain always is going to try to talk you back into going back the old way because it's easier. You can also consider vows and contracts and promises you've made, commitments you've made that you no longer want to keep, that you made under duress or out of guilt or a feeling of responsibility that are not yours to make, and really you would have said no if you could have in the moment, if you had felt like you could. So what can you say no to now? How can you, there is the be impeccable with your word, but it's also there is also keeping a commitment to yourself and honoring your vow to yourself, your word to yourself, your promises to yourself. And if those two things are in conflict, you need to focus on yourself. Obviously, if you have children or there's a serious situation going on and you promise something, it's an extreme situation and people may be counting on you and you may need to move forward, but keep this in mind for next time, or see if you can get more help so it's not all on you, or see if you can find someone else to do what you have promised to do in your place. And if someone says no in that case, please honor that because you know what that's like. But it also is this interesting idea, did you take a vow of silence or chastity or poverty? Now that sounds a little medieval in a way, but sometimes based on how our childhood or how we grew up and how people treated us and our relationships when we were young, all the way up through college, those formative years, people saw us in a certain way, or we were playing it safe because we needed to. So we were quiet when we could have spoken up, or we bought into others' beliefs about sex or love or marriage, or we grew up poor without a lot of money, or money was really tight, and now we're sort of hanging on to the beliefs and values of our parents and our families that are no longer ours, and these things are holding us back. So you might consider those as well. And if this was true for you, a soul pattern of playing small caused by a soul fear of being seen or sharing your voice served you by keeping safe. Consider now if that is true for you, and maybe you might journal on that. So that's that card. The next card is from Colette Baron Reid's The Enchanted Map Oracle cards, which I haven't been using very often, so I wanted to pull these out. Oh, the dry desert. Dry desert. Also an extremely compelling card. I don't know about all of you, but I just love the desert. This does not seem like a bad card to me. This card seems like, in a weird sort of way, I'm going to use the word oasis, because it's so clear and open and barren, and you can see for miles. And there's a friendly sky. The sun is not too harsh. And there is life. There is cacti there and a bird. When I lived in California, I used to go to Joshua Tree, and I've been to New Mexico on writing retreats or to writing conferences, and I've been to Arizona. And I just love the desert. It's such a relief to be there personally for me. I love the woods, I love trees, I love green, but the desert, it's so simple in that the view, it's so direct. What you see is what you get. I mean, obviously there are animals and things you can't see, so you know what I mean. They're living underground and they come out at night and things, yes. But I just mean, it's just open space. Anything feels possible. There's a simplicity to it that I just love, an openness and simplicity that I personally love. And now I'm feeling called to go to the desert, which where I am is not really possible. So the sort of one descriptive phrase of this card is dig deep for inspiration and truth. Now is the time to become resilient and adaptable. So here are some questions and the card reading. Is your life presenting you with opportunities that seem to yield nothing? Have your ideas dried up? Does it feel like, turn the page, does it feel like you're on an endless journey through a dry, hot, lifeless desert? This card reminds you that there are times when you're meant to become resilient as you journey through harsher circumstances. You're being required to conserve your energy until, after consistent effort, you reach the oasis you're searching for. Consider the creatures that live in these conditions. They have adapted to thrive in spite of the outer environment. In a desert, water, essential for life, can be found deep underground. Go deep within yourself now and find your truth there. Let spirit sustain you while you locate the real source. Whatever it is you're asking about will not be found in the conditions you're in until you move past the surface of things and choose to do the real work and discover the answers deep within you. This may not seem like the most productive time, but looks are deceiving. This is a most important place to find what's truly right for you. So that's sort of in line with what I said about my experience of the desert, and it just sort of takes things down to the basic terms so that you can think and feel and not be distracted. It's just you and the sand and the sun and maybe rocks and maybe cacti and birds. But there's nothing in your way in the desert. It's just so open, and I highly recommend going if you haven't gone, and if you can, if you've never been to the West, or if you live out there, maybe you live in California and you've never been to Joshua Tree or any of the nearby states, Nevada, and seen what that's like, you might really like it. Of course, be safe. Take sunscreen, lots of water, take all the precautions, etc. We're not going to go into that. So you can ask these questions. I don't feel like this is what this card is asking, but it could be for you. So I will ask these questions again, just in case this does resonate with you. Is your life presenting you with opportunities that seem to yield nothing? Have your ideas dried up? Does it feel like you're on an endless journey through a dry, hot, lifeless desert? Those are the questions. And so this card is saying, how can you become resilient? You're being required to conserve your energy and be like the creatures that live under these conditions and that have adapted to the environment. This card is also telling you to go deep within and look for the truth there and search for the real source. And for that, it could be you. You are the real source. You know what you want. You just have to tune in. You know what you need to do. How can you move past the surface of whatever situation you're in, relationship, feeling, whatever, and do the real work and discover the answers within? So that's what this card is calling you to do. And the last card are the Soul Trees Oracle cards. Okay, so this kind of is, I'm seeing a whole story here, and I'm guessing you are too. So this card is allow, and I hope you can see that the tree is streaked with these wonderful colors, like mauve, purple, a little bit of like maybe some orange in here, like salmon, pink, some white, some brown. It's a beautiful card. So these cards are all talking to each other. I'm sure you can pretty much see it here. Releasing patterns, going deep within to find the truth and do the work. You could reverse these first two, doing that first and then unbinding yourself from these habits and patterns and contracts. Allowing yourself to take the time to search for the truth and accept your circumstances if this is where you are right now. Allow yourself to release yourself from contracts and vows and habits and patterns and other people's beliefs and values. And then also allow what's next. This is why this card, once you've done this work, it's also allow what's next. Allow yourself to dream. Allow yourself to ask for what you want that you haven't allowed yourself to do. And here is the meaning of allow, which says exactly what I just said. Give yourself permission to follow your own direction and dreams. Allow things to unfold and flow on their own. So this last card is the means to an end. It's the method. It's the way to work with the first two cards, and it's also the way to move forward. So you could work with all three of these cards if you would like, or you could just pick one or two. It's up to you. So let's do our 10 minutes of journaling. So that's our 10 minutes for journaling. And I have a little surprise in that I have a deck to give away. So I received an additional Wild Rituals intention deck from Tamed Wild, which is a fantastic, amazing site that you can get lost in. It's wonderful. You should go to that site immediately. I received another deck. They reprinted it. I don't see a huge difference in it, but I appreciate them sending me an updated deck. And so I have used this on the early journaling videos. If you go back, you'll see the first few use these cards, but they often had rituals that I couldn't really do on screen with you. They just were like taking a bath and stuff like that. So I stopped using them, but they're really cool cards. And so let me show you some of them. They're watercolors, and they have like one image on them usually, or landscapes. There's a key, there's some sage, there's an hourglass, an eye, bow and arrow. There's a landscape, open road. Oops. Let's see. Let me find some others. There's some water, lightning. There's a tree card. There's the earth. So there's heart. Another landscape. So, and on the back, they have a ritual. So this card, which we did in the journaling, one of the journaling sessions, early one sessions, is empowerment. And it has instructions. It has a purpose, history and lore, tools, ritual instructions, and setting an intention. So you can pick one a week or one a day and do these. And I really like these cards. And I'd like to gift them to someone else who would like to have them. So I'll tell you the cards that are in here. They have a list. Abundance, acceptance, action, air, balance, calling, ancestors, calm, deep sleep, earth, empowerment, feminine, energy, fire, focus, forgiveness, grounding, health, hitting your target, manifestation, masculine. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess this is feminine energy and masculine energy, but they have them on two separate lines, which is weird, hard to read. Sorry. So it's not feminine and energy, it's feminine energy earlier and masculine energy later in the deck. Protection, receptivity, release, safe travels, self-care, space clearing, strength, success, water, wisdom, and worthiness. So those are the cards in the deck, and it is by, well, it just says it's the Tamed Wild deck, but the author is Jillian Christina. And so it has her bio in here, as well as information about the deck and the cards. And so I'd like to gift it. So if you are interested, please, if you already like the channel, then please comment. Share your experience today in the comments about the journaling of the cards. And if you, if you haven't liked the channel, please like the channel. You subscribe. Everyone should subscribe and leave a comment. And you might also check out my Tarot for Writers channel. There's a link in the description box. And if you haven't checked that out too, I might do other giveaways on that channel. I also might include that channel in this giveaway. So again, if you're interested in the Wild Rituals deck as a gift to whoever I pick, and I will do a random drawing, of course, please like, subscribe, and comment, and share on this video, and maybe share anything you'd like, but you could also share about the cards that you wrote on today and a little bit about what you wrote. And I send you all best wishes for the rest of your day and for the week, and I hope you'll keep joining me here on Sundays for journaling with me, journaling together, and I wish you happy writing.